Thanks for listening to Entre Nido, the show where we interview neat people with neat stories to help you live your Nido life. Our goal is simple. It's to inspire, challenge, and empower you to achieve more in life. Whether you're considering the leap from your 9-to-5, creating side hustles, or becoming the best version of you, you've come to the right place and we're glad you're here. So let's get started. Welcome back to Entre Nido. I am your host, Matt Neff. Thank you so much for listening. Today we have a great episode with JesseCole from the Savannah Bananas, and we're talking about the topic of Find Your Yellow Tux. Jesse is the owner of Fans First Entertainment, who owns and operates the Savannah Bananas in Savannah, Georgia. They have welcomed more than 1 million fans to their ballparks and have been featured on MSNBC, CNN, and ESPN. Cole has been awarded the Organization of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, Business of the Year, and have won 3 CPL Championships. Cole is an in-demand speaker and author of Find Your Yellow Tux, How to Be Successful by Standing Out, released in January of 2018. Cole is also the host of the Business Done Differently podcast. Cole believes to be successful, you need to stand out and be different. He releases blogs and videos daily on findyouryellowtux.com. That's findyouryellowtux.com. He is passionate about creating attention, loving your customers more than your product, and loving your employees more than your customers. Cole's mantra is, whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. I also want to take a second and mention a great book I'm reading called The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan Cron. Funny and filled with stories, this book allows you to understand more about each of the Enneagram types, keeping you from pausing long after you've heard the chapter about yourself. With changes you can start making today, the wisdom of the Enneagram can help you get on the road that will take you further along into who you really are, leading you into the places of spiritual discovery you would never have found on your own, and paving the way to a wiser, more compassionate person you want to become. As a thank you for listening to the show today, you can get this book for free by going to entrenido.com and clicking the free book tab at the top of the screen. Thanks to our friends at Audible. Now, on to our interview with JesseCole. Welcome back to Entre Nido. My guest today is JesseCole. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Fired up to be with you here today, man.
Man, I'm excited. I've been doing some research. You are the only guest that we've had on the show that actually wears a yellow tux and a yellow top hat, which is amazing. So I've been intrigued. A mutual friend of ours, Scott Beebe, said you have to have Jesse on the show. He said you changed his life. It was over lunch or coffee or somewhere, and you told him, like, what you're doing right now, okay, just do the opposite. And I was like, I like this guy. I like this. I like the yellow tux. I like the difference. It has these homage to kind of Dumb and Dumber, which is one of my favorite movies. So you didn't go with the powder blue or the orange. You went with the yellow, which is great, which goes along with the Savannah Bananas, which is really cool. So we're going to get into your backstory. But before we jump into everything, I just wanted for you to share away websites, social media, podcasts, books, anything that you have out there that our listeners could get a hold of.
If you search JesseCole Yellow Tux Guy on Google, you'll find a lot. But I post every day, LinkedIn, Facebook, just different things, inspiration, how to be different, how to stand out. I'm passionate about that. My book, Find Your Yellow Tux, How to Be Successful by Standing Out, shares the journey on, how we really started from nothing, sleeping on an airbed, had to sell our house, to now crazily selling out every single game here in Savannah, Georgia, with a wait list in the thousands, because we really look at what we do here as not just a baseball game, but as an entire entertainment experience. And that's part of my story. I just look to have fun, make it crazy. And yes, I own actually 7 yellow tuxedos. I'm probably the only person in the world that owns yellow tuxedos. But you know what? It fits my personality. It's about having fun and being out there, being a little crazy, but I love it. And the only time it gets a little weird is when I go to the airport and I'm giving speeches around the country, and TSA is patting me down. They're like, "Who is this guy in a yellow tuxedo?" But I'm used to it at this point and been having a lot of fun with it the last few years.
Oh, that's amazing. So there was so much in your backstory I just wanted to hear, and that's where we're going to next. I would love to hear your backstory, because I don't understand the thinking, because like your actions, the choices we make in life, things like that, it all comes back from thought and how we think, how we view ourselves. So I would just love for you to just kind of unpack that, some kind of your backstory.
Yeah, well, I played baseball my entire life. I was a big baseball fan. My father actually bought a baseball facility because we were up in Massachusetts, so I could train there year round. And that was everything for me. And, I was fortunate to get a college scholarship to go down to Wofford College, a small Division I school in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And that was my plan, to go play professional baseball. And then my junior year, I tore my shoulder, pretty much every piece of my shoulder, the rotator cuff, the labrum, and that ended that. And I actually captured it on film. I was filming a documentary then, and it's one of the most emotional times ever. I've been doing something my entire life. That was my dream. I was talking to professional teams and even getting Christmas cards from professional teams, which I'll never forget. And just like that, it was over. And I got, a lot of my coaches said, Jesse, you got to go into coaching. You're so passionate about the game. And I tried coaching for 3 months in the Cape Cod League. And I was in the Cape Cod League with some of the best players in the country. Literally every one of those teams goes on and plays professional. And I was miserable. And I sat there, one of the best seats in the house, in the dugout with some of the best players in the world. And I realized an important thing then. I loved playing baseball, but I hated watching baseball. But already at that time, I took a job to go in the front office of a team in North Carolina, Gastonia, outside of Charlotte, to be the general manager. Crazily, the owner of the team offered me a job as GM right out of college, because I learned later it was the worst performing team in the country. And I realized I had to now get people to come watch a game that I couldn't even watch, and I played baseball. And that's really where the journey began, and where I realized that, normal gets normal results. So that's why I believe whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. And when we started standing out and being dramatically different than everyone else, the results just took off. And that's really where the journey began back when I was 23 years old.
Well, that's amazing. And you were talking about the quote that you mentioned, I love. And going back to, there's a book that I read called Split the Difference. And it was really interesting because when you're talking about baseball, for example, minor league team, there's things that people think about. Okay, pre-existing things they're going to have. Okay, there's probably going to be drinks, beer, hot dogs, baseball, of course, peanuts, popcorn, things like that. And it's very easy to make it really like clinical. Like, okay, this is what we do. This is our identity. We provide entertainment for families and people through baseball. But I love it because, they talk about in the book that, if there's a person that has an HVAC company and they're working, it's 110 degrees and they're installing a new system that went out in someone's house, it's not that they're just an HVAC salesman. I just sell air conditioners. That's all I do. I just sell air conditioners. That's all I do. Instead, they're actually providing a comfortable environment for a family, or an elderly person or things like that. Like, it's so much more than just the product and sometimes even the service. So I love what you're doing. I'd love for you to unpack it some more, just kind of your mindset of how did you start, with the Savannah Bananas, and when did that start, as far as the genesis of everything of like, let's make this fun. Let's not just make this like another ball game that people go to. Let's make this an experience.
Well, you brought up a great point with the HVAC company. And when I work with companies and I'm speaking, I ask the same thing over and over again. What business are you in, but what business are you really in? The AC company is not in the AC business. And I realized, I guess, the challenges that we had in Gastonia when we started. The team only had 200 fans coming to the game. The team had lost over $100,000 the previous year, and there was only $268 in the bank account on my first day.
Wow.
It was an unbelievable challenge to take over. But I realized something then. The team had been there 7 years, but people didn't care. And you talk about the baseball industry, and this is the way it goes. You come, you buy your hot dog, you buy your soda, you do all this, and you get a game. Well, that's how everyone else is doing it. So I realized right there, I asked this question over and over again. What makes you different? What makes you stand out? And what can you be the best at? And I realized right there, we could never be the best baseball team in the country. We're college summer baseball. We can never be the best concessions. There's chefs all over the country that'll be better than we could get in Gastonia, North Carolina. But what could we be the best at? Something dramatically different than everyone else. We could go all in on the entertainment. And I called the owner a few days after my first day and said, Ken, we're no longer going to be a baseball team. He goes, what do you have in mind? I go, it's going to be a circus and a baseball game may break out. And he goes, what do you have in mind? And I go, our players are going to do choreographed dances every game. We're going to have grandma beauty pageants. I'm going to get in the dunk tank. We're going to have nonstop promotions. Fans are going to get pied. You're going to come to the ballpark and have no idea what to expect. And he said, well, you got nothing to lose. And in fact, we didn't. So we tried doing everything. I mean, we did flatulence fun night, salute to underwear night. I mean, we did dig to China night, where we actually buried a trip to China, a certificate for a trip to China in the infield dirt, except it was a one-way flight to China with no accommodations and no flight back. So we literally thought of it all and just started. And what happened is we created so much buzz because we were doing something different, and we were doing something that we could be the only at. And I share this with everyone, but better isn't different. Only is different. And we always constantly ask, what can we be the only team in the country doing? And so you mentioned the baseball game experience. Well, how's the game experience most times? People go, they buy a $10, $15, $20, $50 ticket, whatever it is. Then they buy their $5, $6, $7 hot dog, their $5 soda, their $8 beer, And then when they take a family of 4, by the end of the night, it could be $200. And I saw that's a friction point. And I call this a mirror moment. And I talk about in my book, whatever business you're in, whatever industry you're in, put yourself in your customer's shoes and realize what frustrates people about the industry that you're in. And so I realized that there are a few things. Baseball was long, slow, and boring to many people. And then secondly, that people get nickel and dimed when they go to sporting events. So what do? We did the exact opposite. So we started literally in Gastonia, now in Savannah at a whole nother level. We started making it nonstop entertainment. We hire a director of fun. We have a 30-piece pep band. We're the only team in the country that has a 30-piece pep band. We have a break-dancing first base coach who dances in between innings doing the moonwalk. We have a senior citizen dance team called the Bananas. We have players go on dates with fans in the middle of the game, including having like a romantic dinner with flowers and a saxophone player. I mean, we think about all these that we're the only one doing it.
Love it.
And then on top of that, I know I'm going on with this.
That's great.
But we're the only team that does every single ticket is all you can eat. So every ticket, you get all your hot dogs, your burgers, your chicken sandwiches, your soda, your water, your popcorn, your dessert, from the time you get into the stadium to the time you leave. And it's $18 total. And that includes your ticket and all your food. And so we packaged and said we eliminated those friction points. So I challenge anybody who's either got a side hustle or it's their main business. How can you be the only? What are you doing different? What are those friction points? And that's how we build our business to, we've been unbelievably fortunate that we've sold out every single game for 2 years at one of the lowest levels of baseball and have a waiting list in the thousands. Now, I know it sounds like we know all the answers. Believe me, we believe in doing and then learning. And just 3 years ago, you want some backstory. When we first came to Savannah, no one believed in us at first. We sold one season ticket in the first 2 months. And my wife and I had to sell our dream house. We had to empty out our savings account, and we were sleeping on an airbed, just hoping for ends to meet and hoping for it to be successful. That was just 3 years ago. So It's been a journey, but what we've seen in the last 3 years has been unbelievable.
Wow. There's so much in that. We do not have time to get in a lot. I have about 100 more questions. I'm a podcaster. I know you're a podcaster as well. So we're like really good at asking questions, but I'm just going to move along because I don't have time. I'm like, what? Grannies and like my question is, the first base coach, did you teach him to break dance? Did he already know? And I don't know. We'll move on. We'll do another.
Well, no, I'll answer that. You hire people that are better and smarter than you. We actually hired a trained hip hop dancer who's one of the best dancers I've ever seen.
Wow.
And he became a baseball coach. So again, hire people better and smarter than you and let them do their thing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, for the topic today, we're calling it Find Your Yellow Tux, which is also the name of your book. I would just let you riff on this. I mean, you know it, you live it. You have 7 yellow suits. That is 7 more than I have. You go through TSA and security and pre-check and all that stuff. I would love to know more about the book, kind of your, this topic. I just want you to unpack it. It'd be great.
Well, I share the journey in the book. I share, how to find your yellow tux personally, how to find your yellow tux in your business, and how to find your yellow tux in your legacy. Yellow tux in your life, yellow tux in your business, and yellow tux in your legacy. And, I think it starts, you got to look at your life. And, I believe so many people are living the 9 to 5. They're stuck in traffic going to work like everyone else. They're coming back home through traffic like everybody else. They're going through the motions like everybody else. They're fighting fires at work like everyone else. They're saying they're way too busy during the day like everyone else. But then there's a few small people who never see it that way. And I believe so many people are stuck watching the clock during the day, where I believe you should lose track of time when you're really enjoying yourself. And I've been fortunate. I've been working at a ballpark the last 12 years, going against traffic, just coming into the ballpark and free flowing. And I realized that the days that I'm most frustrated are the days that I'm firefighting, the days that I'm trying to fix things, that I'm not doing things that I'm absolutely passionate about and I love. And it sounds so easy, you work at a ballpark experience. But the reality is, if you're doing things that you truly love, you truly enjoy, you're going to be amazing at it. And I believe people should do an audit of their work. During a day, how many times are they doing things that inspire them, that fire them up, that make them lose track of time? Or how many times are they doing things that are like they're scratching their head and like, this is miserable? And if they're doing more of the latter, they should look for another opportunity. And we talked before this about, on Saturdays, what are people doing? And it's called the Saturday morning test. On a Saturday with nothing to do, and you're not talking about your family, because obviously your family's a whole separate ship. But if there's family not in the picture, you're not thinking about them with a work standpoint, what do you want to do? What would you want to do? It has nothing to do with your business. Pursue that. And as you're pursuing this podcast, it's something that could be something special. So, I believe, again, it starts with friction points. Same thing with your business. What are those friction points? What are those things that everyone else is doing that struggles, that's giving you issues? and then look to do the exact opposite. So I lay out the framework. I talk about, finding what you're the best at. I talk about being a sponge. Obviously you've done that with these, numerous episodes of this show. How many are you up to now?
Let's see. We are at 95 right now.
All right. Almost 100 episodes. That curiosity.
Yeah.
I think everyone should be curious. It's not the answers you're getting, it's the questions you're asking.
Right.
So I have a whole chapter about being a sponge and how to really find what motivates you and what you love. And then, I go into the business aspect, which we've really been able to see here with the baseball team. So it's a detailed journey, which I share great examples from P.T. Barnum, one of my mentors, Walt Disney, and Bill Veeck, one of the famous previous baseball owners. And I've been really blown away by the reception over the last 6 months since it's been out.
That's amazing. Well, congrats on that. So it's been out 6 months, you said?
Yeah, actually, maybe a little longer now. It came out in January of 2018. So, okay. And it's actually, the sales have increased every month, which has been wild. But I think people have been hearing the story and what we're doing. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate people reaching out and say, you know what, this has really changed my perspective, changed the way I look at life and what I'm doing. And it's been wild. I thought it was mostly for young entrepreneurs, but I'm hearing from senior citizens. I wish they read it before they retired. I'm hearing from even teenagers who are in school trying to figure out what they want to do. So it's been a wild ride, but I think, the reality is just think about yourself. What makes you different? What makes you unique? Yeah. And celebrate that. We got too many people that are trying to fit in. It's okay to stand out. And I know that's easier said than done from a guy in a yellow tuxedo, but you know what? It's the people that stand out that make a real difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So to go back a little bit, what were you like as a kid? Did you have this kind of propensity to that, to kind of stand out or did you go with the flow, or what was your kind of MO there?
I was an only child looking for friends. I mean, the reality is my parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. My father fought hard to win me in custody, which I was very fortunate that happened. And my dad worked really hard, had a very successful job, but I was alone a lot. And I worked hard when I was around people to be the class clown, I think I got 26 detentions back in 7th grade for speaking out in class.
That has to be a record for sure.
It was a lot. So, I was the kid trying to get attention, and I'm still doing that today, I guess, with the yellow tuxedo and what we're doing with our teams. But I just wanted to be around people. And I think that's where I'm at my best. I surround myself with others and surround myself with people with better than me, surround myself with people that inspire me. And that's what I try to do every day. And that's why, we bring together over 4,000 people at our ballpark.
That's so cool. And that's so huge too, because we don't change. Like, people can change, and you can, develop good habits and change, bad habits, things like that. And we definitely change, because I look back to when I was like 18 or 20 and I'm just like, man, I did not know anything at that point. But when I go back to being a kid, being a teenager, growing up, what did I find myself, kind of coming back to? And it was similar to me too, being outgoing, being the class clown, 4th grade, and making jokes and all these different things. Like, that's never going to change. And I think the quicker we realize that as people, I love to do that, like with our mastermind groups and different people I coach and I talk with, is that don't overthink this. Just give me guttural responses first. It's not that difficult. I think we get just inundated and weighed down with Twitter feeds and Facebook and voices and videos and all these other things that can kind of cloud our judgment. And we're never still. Like you said earlier, busy is like supposed to be, in quotes, sexy. Like, wow, I'm just so busy. Wow, they must be very successful. That doesn't mean you're successful just because you're busy.
No, 100%. 100%. And again, like you said, stop thinking and start doing. And, I think I just started this a couple of weeks ago. I wrote down what I call my inspired list. And I wrote down the things that inspire me. And it was a simple list, 10 things. And I said, how much am I doing that every day? And again, I did an audit of myself. If you do things that inspire you, you will inspire others and you will produce great work. So I'm focusing every day on that inspired list. Am I doing things that are inspiring me? And when you do that, you can make a huge impact. So, again, continuing to evolve. And I think we're all doing that. And crazy thing is my book actually opened with my eulogy. I wrote my own eulogy to open my book.
Wow.
So again, it's crazy as that sounds. I'm a young guy, but I think back to, what's the impact you're making in people's lives and how do you want to be remembered? And if you can live your life with that kind of guideline of how do you want to be remembered, I think that's when you really can make a difference. And so I did that. It's a great, crazy example. I was on the Zig Ziglar show recently, and they had all their listeners do it. And it's something that really makes you reflect. And, are you living the life that you hope to live, and auditing? And I even have my spouse say, am I being this person that I want to be? Yeah. So that's deep talking. But again, you might as well start writing this stuff down, because I think when you write things down, you make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I want to get in, just change gears really quick and talk about limiting beliefs. So what are some things some negative self-talk, some things that have come through your mind that have tried to stop you or slow you down from like your goals? Is it fear of failure, fear of success? Is it, not knowing enough? Like what's kind of the things that you have to battle mentally?
It's not fear of failure. We believe in doing and learning. We look at failure as discovery. So we tell our whole staff, everyone, what did we discover today? What did we discover with this event? What did we discover with our fans? For me, I think it's something that I talk about a lot, but it's still challenging. It's the comparison trap. And I think everyone goes through this, and you talk about likes and followers and,
Right.
How successful people are. The more success you have, the more you're surrounded by other successful people, and you end up comparing yourself to them. And I go through that challenges. I'm like, what am I doing? No, we're completely different people. There's no reason to compare.
Right.
Some of the richest, on paper, most successful people are the most unhappiest people. And it's proven, because that's how they measure themselves. So I'm focusing more daily is to not compare myself to others and really just be content and happy with who I am and what I'm doing. So I think that's a limiting belief, is that constantly looking at others and their success and trying to either measure up or even be more successful.
That's really good. Well, we're almost at time, but I would just want to get, before we go, just any kind of final closing thoughts, anything that may have come up or anything that's on your mind currently you'd want to share with our listeners.
The biggest difference that I've seen in probably the last 15 years I've been in business is that when I first started, and I believe a lot of young entrepreneurs go through this, is that they're focused on themselves and creating name for themselves and getting promotions and making more money. Well, the greatest happiness I've had has been over the last 5 years. And, I've got married, I've had a kid, but I've grown a team here of 15 full-time employees, 150 part-time here in Savannah.
Wow.
And the focus now is no longer on me, it's on we. And I develop so much happiness and purpose when I see the growth in others. And what happens is when you focus on others, everything else takes care of itself for you. And so, I say this all the time, but be patient in what you want for yourself, but be impatient in how much you give to others. And I believe that is something that if we all do, we focus on others, the happiness that we can reach for ourselves is so much greater. And I've learned that from my wife. She's inspired me more than anything. And so has our people, all millennials that have really made a huge impact. And we've had zero turnover here, which is unprecedented when you look at the statistics of what millennials are leaving jobs.
Sure.
And I believe it's because of the focus that we put on each other. And, you need to love your customers more than you love your product, but love your employees more than you love your customers. And that's where my focus is. So I challenge anyone who's working with the team, surrounded by themselves, how can you take care of them, focus on them more, and then everything else in your life will take care of itself.
Awesome. Well, one more time, if you could just plug away any kind of website, the book, and your podcast.
Find Your Yellow Tux. And it's, the podcast Business Done Differently just finished season 1. But look me up, shoot me a note. I love to help in any way, shoot ideas. I love talking about the fan experience. We didn't dive into it today, but how to create the most amazing fan experience. We call it the fans first way. So you can look that up, search JesseCole Yellow Tux Guy, fans first, and I'll help in any way.
Thanks so much, Jesse. We so appreciate you joining us for this week's episode. As a thank you for listening to the show, head over to entreneater.com to download your free audiobook, thanks to our friends at Audible. While on our website, you can purchase your very own official, super comfortable, super trendy Neato t-shirt. Looking to take your life and business to the next level? Click the Join Our Mastermind at the top of the screen. Have a question or comment for the show? Click Contact to message us. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to our show to stay current with all the amazing interviews from our guests. Now take what you've learned, apply it, and start living your Neato life now.